Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom, your business journey with Clarita, the podcast where we will discuss valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Subscribe now to Begin, Build, Blossom, and let's embark on your business journey. Welcome to another episode of our podcast, Begin, Build, Blossom. And today we have with us Alajahwon Ridgeway. He is the owner of AB Ridgeway Wealth Management. He is a certified private wealth advisor professional with over a decade of experience in investment management and creating retirement plans. He is also the host of Financial Advisors Say the Darndest Things podcast, a Christian finance podcast where they teach believers how to be rich in spirit and righteous in action. Welcome, Alajahwon.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I would like to add that we went to the same university and we did meet on campus, and it's so great to see you again.
Good to see you as well.
Yes, and I know you're very busy, so thanks for taking the time to speak with us. As you all may know, the podcast is about speaking with fellow entrepreneurs to learn about their journey and hopefully to inspire someone else to start or continue their own journey. We will get started with a section we call Rapid Fire. There we will be asking some questions to get to know you a little better. But even though we call it Rapid Fire, if you want to expound on anything, please
I
go ahead
appreciate
and
it. You're
do
talking
so.
to a podcaster, so we can get long-winded.
And I love that though, because I'm the same way. So you're in good company. And I was saying that I really absolutely love your voice. I just love listening to your voice, on the podcast, and you you share so much knowledge with people, and I'm sure it's very much appreciated by others. I know that I appreciate that. So thanks for that. So let's start with if you can give us two words. One word that describes you as a child, and one word that describes you now that you're an adult.
As a child, I'll use my mom's word. She called me a rascal.
Mhm.
I wasn't bad, but I also wasn't good either. Just kind of like getting by.
Mhm.
I guess as an adult, composed. A lot of people says I have a zen-like presence, so composed.
Yeah, I agree with that Zen-like presence. I would totally agree with that. So Rascal composed. Okay, thanks for sharing that with us. We covered that in the introduction, but let's just go through that again. What is the name of your business and what do you do?
Well, I own AB Ridgeway Wealth Management, and we create financial plans for Christians who know they should do something with their money, but they just don't know what. They don't know the ins and outs. They don't know the technical aspects. That's what we help them with.
Great. And how long have you been in business?
Over a decade, but it's about 12, going on 13 years or so. I'm showing my age. If you can't tell by my beard, it's getting a little bit lighter in my older years.
And are you full-time or part-time?
I am full-time.
Great. And what were you doing before you started your business?
I worked at a international brokerage firm as a personal banker, and also as a financial advisor. So I moved up the ranks pretty quickly. I think I spent maybe like a year or two as a personal banker, and then the rest of my career as a financial advisor as well.
And so far, what has been your biggest achievement in your business?
I think starting is always your biggest achievement. I think everything else is just decoration, things that you can hang on your Christmas tree, almost like Christmas. It's like getting that tree in the house is like the biggest deal. Decorations come second. So just going out there and getting that first step done is always your best accomplishment.
Okay. And what would you say has been one of your lowest lows, maybe?
The lowest lows is asking yourself, are you valuable? What can you really bring? Can you really do this without a support system? So you start to realize all the things that your former employer did for you, providing technology, compliance, a place to work, electricity, all those things. You start to realize that there's more to business than just your craft. There is a system that needs to be set up.
Wow. Yes, for sure. Is there one book you'd recommend that we read?
Oh, of course, it's the Bible. Of course, right?
Yes.
Would I recommend any other book? No, I mean, there's tons of books that I would recommend, but obviously it's the Bible. I just think a majority of books are just knockoffs of the Bible. They take a section, they take some key principles, they take a passage, They create a book about it and then they market it. I mean, even Napoleon Think and Grow Rich is full of positive affirmations, which really is just prayer. That's all it is. You spend
Mm.
an hour on your goals, you focus on it, you have intention, you pray about it, morning and night. That's what you do with prayer. You go to God with your intentions, you sit there for an hour and you ask him for guidance and networks and masterminds and all those other things.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for that. I actually find that that is the most popular response that I've gotten whenever I ask that question. So just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, and I tell people, read it. No, don't just say you read it. Read it all. There's a bunch of books in there.
Okay, so let's move on to the begin segment. Let's talk a little bit about getting started. Do you remember the first time you thought about actually starting a business?
Yes, I do. I think the first time, I think this may be the first time I actually told this story, but I think the statutes of limitations have passed. So if there's any lawyers out there, but it started at my prior firm. After years of service, I was getting the feeling that my service was no longer needed. You start getting
Hmm.
that kind of feeling in the office. And there's an old saying that you either manage people up or you manage people out. And since I was a high performer, they couldn't manage me up. So I think they decided to kind of manage me out. And I was the victim of lies, deception, false allegations, and kind of put in a position to fail. And it was actually if the truth didn't even exist in that office. And the only thing that saved me besides the grace of God were numbers. Men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. So dates, transactions, sales productions, etc., they're all time stamped and they're permanent. And it's easy to compare to your peers. So I was nowhere near the bottom or should have felt this type of pressure. But guess what? I wasn't in the club. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to party. I didn't want to go have drinks. I just want to go to work. I want to come home. And when false allegations were made, all I had to do was go to the numbers. So fast forward, there was a class action suit against the company for discrimination against Black financial advisors. And I had the numbers to back up my discrimination. So instead of taking the money and buying a house or buying a car or something that they wanted me to do and stay in that kind of rat race, I decided to start an investment firm where Christians could feel comfortable knowing that God and the truth were the foundation and not lies and profit. So as far as my situation, I was like, you know what? That's it for me. I need to start my own business.
I'm really sorry that happened to you. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I guess it's nice that at the on the other side of things, you're actually be able to start a business to help other people.
Yeah, I think God puts us in these situations because I wasn't going to go on my own. I was making enough money, I was like, I could take
Hmm.
this, whatever, a couple of lies, a
Hmm.
couple of deceits. But then it just starts to wear on you. And God says, hey, I have something bigger and better for you. And I'm going to put you in that position. So, don't follow your own intuition, follow my godly decree.
Okay. And in terms of your upbringing, can you tell us anything about your upbringing you think that led to where you are today in terms of your business journey?
I mean, as far as my upbringing, I come from a humble background like most people. My mom worked at the post office. My dad was a mechanic. I have a brother and two sisters, and I never really wanted for anything because the love in our house was enough. And it's funny thing is, it wasn't until I got older and social media started having these memes like, you grew up rough or poor if you shopped at these stores. I'm like, I shopped at that store. And they're like, you grew up rough if you ate this snack, and it's like a saltine
Hmm.
cracker with peanut butter. And I'm like, hey, I ate that. That was good. I mean, I didn't know that was rough, but thanks to
Right.
my mom, she was a wonderful cook. So we didn't have to buy prepackaged junk. She made a majority of our meals. But I started to realize that to function as a human being doesn't take a lot of money. It's our perception of money that makes us feel like
Hmm.
we have to have bigger and better. But it's really just convenience, that we're paying for because our survival, especially here in the United States, is easy. People haven't traveled the world and seen true poverty yet. That's why they think that they're behind. But if you live in America, you're better than literally like 90% of the whole world, even if you're living paycheck to paycheck or maybe a little bit in debt.
Listening to you brings up the word gratitude, because sometimes we don't realize how good we have it even when we think we're not doing well at all. So it's good to be grateful no matter where we are, always looking to do better without sacrificing so much of yourself. But gratitude is so important.
Amen. And also gratitude for God's gifts that are free. I had an illustration about a Rolls Royce Phantom that has the stars in the roof, like the stars in a Rolls Royce. People are paying $400,000 for that car. And God has the night sky with billions of stars, which are free that you don't have to
Right, right.
service. But it's that gratitude aspect. We don't have to pay for the sunlight. We don't have to pay for the nighttime where we get rest. We don't have to pay for the rivers. And I think a lot of people miss that. And if they have gratitude for those things, they'll realize that everybody else is really just trying to sell God's blessings back to you.
I love that. And you actually, from saying that, reminds me of my dad. My dad is a CMOS farmer in St. Lucia, and he lives life with such gratitude. Every day, he doesn't have very much money, but he's the happiest person I know. And I remember someone who met him, I was visiting from the US, met him and said, "Oh my gosh, this man is living the life people go on Wall Street to like make money to go live. And he's doing that just by being happy, and he's just so happy. I admire him so much. And he's not, yes, he's not a businessman on Wall Street, but he is a businessman in St. Lucia doing what he loves
Yeah.
and just being the best human ever. And when you say that, that just reminds me of him.
Well, the funny thing is, if people are listening, look up the story of, I think it's the businessman and the fisherman, where he goes to the beach and he meets a fisherman. He's like, "Hey, you can sell more of these." He's like, "Then what?" He's like, "Then you get a company. Then what? You go to the United States. Then what?"
Right, right. I remember that. Right. That did remind me of my dad. Yes. And my father is actually also a fisherman.
Yeah,
So
that's Simon fisherman, exactly. So, you hit it right on the nail. He's winning in life. This is, to be in control of your time and be able to do what you love. That is the ultimate control. That is the ultimate success.
I agree. And the older I get, I think the more I realize that. And I'm just so grateful to him for teaching me that from such an early age, but not realizing it until now, really.
Amen.
So you told us a little bit about what made you venture out on your own. But is there anything you'd like to add to that for someone who's maybe trying to do the same thing that you've done?
Well, they want to be a financial advisor. I can speak from my experience. First, I did research on starting my own firm, and the information is very heavy. But if you're already in the industry, it's not. So I tell people you can either start a business or something that you love and you're passionate about, that you're willing to put in the hours, or you can find an aspect of your job that you love and use that as a business. So you don't have to do everything your firm does, but maybe there's a skill that you have that you want to monetize. For me, by the grace of God, I had obtained all the certifications and designations over my years. So continuing education in your firm, use those resources as much as you can. When they give you free training, don't roll your eyes,
Mm-hmm.
take it.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to pay for your education to go back to school, take it. All that's going to help you just in case you decide to leave and you don't have to come out of your pocket to kind of regain that. So as far as that, I didn't have any additional tests I need to take to start my own firm because I was already established. I had the years of experience, things of that nature. But I also found this organization called XYP, or XY Planning Network, is short for XYPN, where they guide financial advisors to create their own registered investment advisory firms. And after reading about 10 articles from the godfather of financial planning, Michael Kitces, I joined. And I followed their program amongst thousands of financial advisors across the nation. I actually won Member of the Year 2021. So I knew I was on the right track, right? But that's pretty much how I got started. I did my research, I got my experience. I made sure that I followed up with people that knew what they were doing and found institutes and free programs that I can leverage. I have this, they don't call it a pet peeve, but I kind of have this ick where a lot of people said there's not a lot of resources. And I said, well, have you used the free ones yet? You go to the library, which pays for your taxes. You have access to thousands of books. If you go to your local library, I think they have LinkedIn Learning for free. There's free passes to your local museum. There's a lot of things you can get for just $1 at your library card, but we're not leveraging those resources. So when you're starting your business, leverage every free resource you have. The Small Business Development Center in your local area, the SBDC, go find them. Go find grants that may be in your industry. Those are going to be your catapult to accelerating your business a lot faster because there's a lot of people there who are willing to help.
Thanks for sharing that with us. And you mentioned grants. Are there any grants in particular you know of?
As far as grants, they're very specific. Usually it's those for lower incomes. I can't tell you exactly where to go. You're going to have to, Google those type of things, but they're out there. They're definitely out there. So I apologize for not having the resources, but I may be able to follow. What I'll do is maybe send you maybe some resources that some of my friends have. But if you go to the SBDC and type in your local city, they're going to have a list of grants that you may be eligible for.
Thanks for sharing that. And so in terms of the process to get started, I know you said you did your research, you already had your certifications, you joined organizations. It sounds like there's some networking there as well. In terms of the maybe the legal aspect, is it, like did you reach out to an attorney? Did you do a lot of that on your own to actually establish the firm itself?
So to establish the firm, establishing an LLC or an S corp or whatever it may be is not very difficult. Once again, I went through the SBDC, so they had a lot of resources. They had a lot of local resources. So I got referred to marketers, referred to lawyers to look over maybe ad hoc things. I didn't need to go hire one on a full retainer. I just needed to look at maybe a contract or two, things to get certified, things of that nature. Also, my XY planning network had a lot of templates already made because they've already served financial advisors. And that's why it's very important to go into your industry and some of your industry organizations because they've seen this a million times. So you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel and create things or go to YouTube University. There's usually an organization in your town or maybe even an adjacent state that has everything that you need, but you have to get involved. You can't do it from a distance. You need to go in, you need to speak to someone, get someone on the phone, have a coffee time, have a Zoom, and engage.
And in terms of the cost of entry into your industry, somebody looking to start off now, how much would you like? What would be the ballpark figure you'd say to even get started?
It's not the dollar amount to get started, but if I was going to put a number on it, I would say at least 50,000. And it's not a 50,000 like cold hard cash, but 50,000 willing to invest into your education because you're going to have to get your designations. My CPWA, just that designation alone, my certified private wealth advisory, that continuing education was about $5,000. I'm in another program, it's like an enrolled agent. That's maybe another 2,500. And that's not even including all the other tests and things that I've taken from my prior firm that they paid for. And the reason I say that is because most businesses fail within the first 5 years because they don't have capital. So if you're going to go on your own, make sure that you have an emergency savings because don't just leave out of the emotion like I hate my job. I'm just going to be my own boss and don't have any savings because your 9 to 5 can be a cash flow when things are rough. You as an entrepreneur knows that things do get tough. So you can work on the side, build up your cash flow, and you can project how much assets you're going to need during that time period. But with that said, once that initial investment is made over the course of, let's say, 3 to 4 years, so that's like $10,000 a year, your profit margins are huge. So that means that you do less work, but you get actually paid more because you have the education. And that's what I want these entrepreneurs to know. The more you know, the less you have to do and the higher you get paid. It's a beautiful formula. But the less you know, the less you're going to get paid and, and the less is going to come into your pocket, the less profit margin you're going to have.
For sure. And what is the story behind your name? So I know it's your first name. I mean, I know it's your name, but I'm sure you went through a process deciding on a name. So maybe you can walk us through that.
Yes, a lot of people think it was my ego or maybe about a legacy, and maybe it was a little bit of both. But it actually came from a situation I had with a customer when I was 20. And I used to work for a cell phone shop. A lady comes in and she wants to return a cell phone. And I tell her, it's past the 30 days. Hey, we can't return it. It's the policy. So she kicks and she screams and she calls corporate, right? We've all been in customer service before. And they tell her, okay, ma'am, you can return it. Now, keep in mind, I was the top salesman 2 years in a row and just won this huge 50-inch TV. Back then, back in 2008, 50 inches was like the big deal, right? Now you can go to Walmart and get one for a couple
Mm-hmm.
$100s. Back then, it was something big. And, this wasn't my first rodeo. So she tells me she wants to apologize. She wants an apology from me. And I say, sure. I like to apologize on behalf of the company for your inconvenience. But I'm glad that it's resolved and you have your phone. And she says, no, I want one from you. So I said, you aren't getting one from me because I didn't write the policy. I'm not sorry, but I believe the company is sorry. Well, that answer didn't go over so well. She calls my manager's manager, and he came down from Arizona and he wrote me up. And he said I should have apologized. And I said, I did apologize, but I wasn't going to apologize for Alajahwon because I didn't do anything wrong. I did what the company wanted. If it was me, I would have gave her a refund. I would have gave her all the phones on the wall. Like, here, you can have all the electronics that you want. But I had to follow policy. And he said, maybe this isn't the right job for you. And I said, you know what? You're right. And I left. So I told myself I was tired of making comments for someone else. I was tired of getting in trouble for other people. I was tired of wearing someone else's name on my shirt and having to confirm, or talk to these people about what they wanted me to talk about. So now when I see my firm, I know my values and my beliefs are aligned. Like, this is AB Ridgeway Wealth Management. We do things differently here. Like, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know, what you're doing at another firm, but here we're going to worship God. We're going to make sure that we tell the truth. And that's what we're going to focus on.
Wow. Wow. That's very interesting.
I don't want to get emotional. That's why I'm smiling. She knew she was wrong, right? There's a 30-day policy.
Right.
After the 30 days, you can't return it. That's the policy. You signed the contract. You got the phone. You were wrong. Now you want me to apologize for something you got wrong? That's not going to happen here. And for them to think that that deception was okay, or that I need to change my values to appease this client for profit, wasn't going to happen. No, not on my watch.
Wow. I'm just really thinking about that because sometimes we're faced with situations that really tells us a lot about ourselves, because it would be easy to cave and say, okay, you know what? Just because I'm just going to do this, but you actually stood your ground and you did what you thought was right. And that is always the most difficult thing to do. So, I mean, I applaud you for doing that. And for the customer, it's good that you told that story, because when we go in and act like that, we're actually impacting somebody's life, and that's a lot that happened. Somebody flew in from Arizona, you got written up. I mean, you were tested in a huge way, and you walked away from the job, like, all because of somebody's attitude that day. So that's a lot to think about. So that's why I'm really taking all of that in. Thanks for sharing that
Yeah,
with
no
us.
problem. And for everyone who's listening, I've made a lot of money over my career, and a lot of you will make a lot of money. Just for reference, if you're making $50,000 a year, just over a 20-year period before you retire, $1 million would have passed through your hands. Okay. So we all are typically managing a lot of money throughout our whole lifetime. I remember that situation and the pride that I felt in myself 20 some odd years later than any check I've ever received. That is something I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, where I stood my ground and my integrity
Hmm.
stood tall. So money, fame, prestige, all that comes and goes. Whether you like me, whether you love me, that comes and goes. But my integrity that day, that's something I'll cherish for the rest of my life. That was free.
As you should. Thanks for sharing that, really, because that gives me something to think about too. It reminds you of what's important. And in terms of your first client, how did you go about getting that first client for your business?
First client's always the toughest, right? Well, when I
Mm-hmm.
left my brokerage firm, I have what they call a non-compete contract that you sign. So you don't have access to any of your client information. So I had over 300 clients. I managed a book of business of over $50 million. And when I left, it was as if I was starting from scratch. At the time, I managed 5 branches in the Lafayette area and the surrounding areas. So what I did, I went to the USPS store. Well, and they told me about a program. And I was like, hey, mom, she worked at the post office. I said, they were talking about
Mm-hmm.
mailers. What do you think? She says, yeah, just send a mailer to the neighborhood or to a certain zip code. So she taught me how to get online, show where the post codes go. So I mailed out these mail inserts with my name and my business to the areas that I knew my clients lived. So if they lived in a zip
Mm-hmm.
code 70509 or whatever it may be, I sent a blanket.
Mm-hmm.
These mailers, they're very cheap. No one uses them anymore because they feel like junk mail. So you appear in people's mailbox. And then I took a billboard out across the street from my old main branch with my face and new contact information, because I
Wow.
figured people were going to go to the bank, right? And they're going to ask for me because I
Mm-hmm.
just disappeared. Like, when you leave from the bank, you just disappear. Your cards are gone, your picture's gone. Like, it's almost as if you never existed. So I figured they're going to go in and say, we don't know where he's at. So I took out this big billboard, and it's like me, my contact information, and my new firm information. And so every time people came, they're like, hey, I saw your billboard. I asked them where you went. They said they didn't know. And I saw your billboard. So I called you. And that's how I got my first client.
Wow. Oh wow, that's brilliant. And that is not covered in a non-compete, is it?
No, it's not because I'm advertising in the city. They can't stop me from advertising in the city. They can stop me from contacting my clients directly, but if they see an ad of mine, they can't stop me.
Wow. Hmm. Okay. So that takes us nicely to the build segment. And I was going to ask you one of the boldest moves you've made since starting. And that sounds like a bold move right there, putting that ad right there.
That's pretty big move.
So, right. If there's any other you'd like to tell us about, now would be a good time.
No, I just think the biggest leap of faith for any entrepreneur is basically prospecting. So any big moves that you make is reaching out to your client base and getting to the people that need your services. As a business owner, you're constantly prospecting. I've never prospected with the intentions before owning my own business. I mean, not in my personal life or my professional life. I meet people, I find a problem, I solve it. So owning a business, people aren't just going to come to you. You have to engage, and that means a lot of no's, but that also means a lot of yeses. And yeses are the only things that matter to your bottom line. So yeses pay the bills. So find the yes. Don't worry about the no's.
And have you ever had the no's turn into yeses eventually?
They do. I think there is a herd mentality what a lot of people have,
Hmm.
and entrepreneurs out here. I do want to take a little segue here, a little off topic, on topic. Don't expect your family and friends to support you. Okay. Don't expect your family and friends to support you because they are not your target audience. Most likely, whatever you're selling, whatever you're doing, has nothing to do with your family members. And they're going to treat you just like customers. They're going to be like, no, thank you. This isn't for me. Now, what's going to happen once you start being successful, once they see other people on your social media and, oh, you're doing a great job and I love what you're doing, guess what? They're going to hop on the bandwagon. And they're going to, that's my baby, that's my cousin, that's my, I supported you since day one and all this other stuff. So don't let that deter you. Let your family be your family. Let your customers be your customers. I know when we're first starting and we want that support, we think that the people that we love for our lifetime would be there for us, but they're not. This is business. This is not personal. Okay. So focus on getting clients outside of your family, and your family is going to reap the benefits. That's just how family works.
And I'm sure sometimes family even helps get you clients before they become a client themselves.
They
So
do.
that happens sometimes.
Family's nosy, right? So they're like, well, what's Alajahwon doing? It's like, oh, he owns his own investment firm. Really? And then they Google you, they go on your Facebook, they pry on you. But then they're like, you know what? He's actually doing some great stuff. Let's do it. You know what I mean? So because when you are an entrepreneur, that is all you're doing. And that's all people really know
Hmm.
you for, that they left their job or, because what was the first thing people ask you when they meet you? What do you do? Right? That's the
Hmm.
primary question people ask. So obviously your business is going to come up.
Right. And so you got that first client through the billboard, and how did you go about continuing to have that stream of clients?
I think it boils down to network. And I think honestly, being able to build a team on honesty is going to be your best policy. You won't like everyone you work with. And I think people confuse networking with friendship. You can be friends with people you network with, but everyone you network with won't be your friend. But they do, this is one key for me, they do have to be friendly. Don't involve yourself with people who are rude, people who are liars, people who are deceptive. You want some people who are honest, that their beliefs and values align with yours, but you can't be great at everything. So just being humble enough to reach out and ask for help is going to be the key, but make sure it's mutually beneficial, either financially or emotionally. Don't use 4 hours of someone's time and leave them in the dust. Make sure they are compensated for the things that they're giving to you. And asking for help is going to be the key. There's a saying that if you ask a question that you don't know, you're an idiot for 1 minute. But if you never ask the question, you're an idiot for a lifetime. And that really resonated with me. I'd rather look like a fool for a minute than be a fool for a lifetime.
Same here, same here. So yeah, so I'm glad we ask a lot of questions. I really believe in networking, asking a lot of questions, because actually part of the way this podcast started is because when I was starting my own business, I reached out to many people who had gone through the process. There's a lot to be learned from others, and I thought, why not just bring that to others? There are other people starting other kinds of businesses who would love to hear from people like yourself who have gone ahead and done it, right?
Right, and I was saying that answer your I hope I answered your question, right?
No, no, you did because what I got from that is networking is very important, and what you by reaching out to other people, I mean that's part of networking as well. And I could see how also that's getting people to know what you're doing,
Yes.
and they in turn actually can, if somebody asks them for a recommendation, they can tell them, okay, I know about you over here. So
And that's an important thing too. I think telling stories of the clients that you're working with is vital. So there's a difference between theory and real life experience. Anyone in the industry can tell someone who read a book something, right? But there's a difference between somebody who read a book and someone who actually lives the lifestyle. And I
hmm
figured if one of my clients had that problem, someone else did. So
hmm
my tip for everyone out there is to create content around your client base, the people that you're already serving, because there's
hmm
probably thousands of people that are just like them. And so if my client asks me, hey, I'm afraid of running out of money in retirement, I create a video or podcast around it. They ask me, what's the best way to pay off debt? I created content around it. So basically, I became a problem solver. So when they came to me, it was like, I have this problem too, solve my problem. And then
right,
there's
right,
people in the crowd. Hey, I have this problem too. Can you solve mine? And that's what
right.
people are looking for. They're not looking for information. Google has tons of information. They're looking for problem solvers.
They are. So, in terms of handling the finances of your business, how do you go about doing that right now?
I'm a financial advisor, so I handle my own finances as far as,
Okay.
mortgages, cars, things of that nature. But I do have an accountant that handles my business finances. I finally delegated that over. They work exclusively with financial advisors. So I kind of practice what I preach here. But they're aware of the type of transactions that we deal with, how to look for exemptions and deductions. Also, they can kind of leverage their knowledge of other financial advisors that are in similar situations to kind of help advise me as well. Like, hey, I have another financial advisor. This is what they're doing. You may want to do something similar. And that's why I have a Christian firm as well. The finances are the same, but having someone who shares your beliefs and can understand when, you need something, or if they want to give some extra to the church or donate to a building fund or just want to make some extra money or whatever it may be, they know that person could relate. So just like people could relate to you and your story and what you want to accomplish. And they know it's like, you know what? This is where I need to go to. If I can go to her,
hmm
she understands who I am, what I'm all about.
Agreed. And you said you finally delegated, or you stopped doing it yourself and had somebody else do it. What caused that transition for you? What made you decide to do that at that point?
I mean, it's been one of my principles to delegate things, and I'm humble enough to know that I don't know everything. The man that knows something knows he knows nothing at all, and that's me. So it's like if someone does it better, more
hmm
proficient, and more cost effective than I do,
hmm
then let me relinquish that so I can focus on the things that I love.
hmm
I'm a financial advisor. I can do my own books, but let me get a professional who could do it for me so I can focus on building the financial plans, or I can focus on my clients, things of that nature.
hmm
And I recommend anybody who's listening, to go see you as well. Like, relinquish that. You can listen to these podcasts, you can get the information, but relinquish some of that stuff to you so you can work on those numbers so they can focus on the things that they love.
Yeah, and thanks for saying that. Even with me, I like, for instance, for the podcast, I do work with a producer because without him, I would not have even gotten started because I I just didn't know where to start. So it was good to have that expertise, and I'm actually looking to get an assistant because I'm missing emails and there's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of work that happens in the background, and I'm realizing I need someone to help me manage that. I'm coming to the point where even though it's expensive, I'm realizing it's good to have people on your team that way to help you serve your clients more efficiently and to help you even with work-life balance too. So
Amen.
that brings us nicely to struggles because what are some of this? I would like to find out what are some of the struggles you've faced. Like for me, I was just talking about work-life balance and managing the administrative sides of things. And what are the struggles that you've been facing?
Everything. No, I think it's natural, to have struggles. No one has it great. One thing I like to say is this person, I assume this person is doing well when I see someone, because it could be a facade. People could look at me and says, you know what, this guy has it all together. He's well spoken. He has his own financial firm. Everything must be perfect in this guy's life, which is not true. I struggle with things too. I don't know how to dance. So that's you catch me on the dance floor, something I struggle with, right? But, we all have something that we're trying to figure out or trying to get better at or trying to build. Because people see me and say, well, you have a successful financial firm, but I also look at other financial advisors and see how far they've been. And I know I have a journey to go too. So there's still mistakes that I make, things I need to clean up. So, I'm always struggling. And I think to find beauty in struggle is where you're going to find the beauty of life. I think Viktor Frankl talks about that in Find the Meaning of Life. Is like anybody who finds meaning in the suffering, that's when they find meaning, or something like that. I know I'm butchering the quote, but go look it up. Um, but the idea is still the same: is that you have to find meaning in the struggle, which makes the struggle worth having. So for me, as I mature, I just realized that giving up is not really an option. Struggle is part of the journey. And let me give you this quick example here. If you have a tree and this tree is bearing fruit and you never pick the good fruit and you don't pick the bad fruit, it just stays on the tree. What happens to
Hmm.
the branch?
I guess it would be too heavy, no?
It will be too heavy. It will eventually bend
Hmm.
and it will break, right?
Hmm.
That's the
Right.
same with our business. As you grow, you'll gain good fruit and bad fruit. Good fruit may be
Hmm.
money, and bad fruit may be obligations or other responsibilities that we have in our personal lives or our professional lives. But instead of uprooting the tree, you trim the branches and the bad fruit and allow the other branches to grow and to thrive again. So when you feel like quitting or you feel like you're struggling too much, free yourself from some of the distractions that are taking you away from your ultimate goal. And that's the delegation part we talked about. As it says in actually John 15, 1 and 2, I think it says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes that it may bear more fruit. So
Hmm.
that's what we have to do. When we feel tired, when we feel anxious, we have to trim those branches. And that's a biblical principle. And that's what our firm's all about. Teaching these values that are found right in the Bible that can help you bring peace of mind to you and your finances.
Great. On the other side of struggle is blossoming. And that takes us very nicely to our blossom segment. What does success mean to you?
I think being able to do the things that I'm passionate about. So balancing my time and taking control of this life that God has given me.
Hmm.
That's success. It's not about doing everything. It's not about making the most money. It's not about the most fame. It's not about the most popularity. It's really about waking up with a purpose and fulfilling that purpose. Because I've noticed all the great people in this world are really focused on one passion. Your Jeff Bezos is focused on books and Amazon. Your Elon Musk is about Tesla and SpaceX and things of that nature. But they've shunned out the world and they followed their own passion. And then the fame came and then the recognition came. So for
Hmm.
me, success is if I can make it to heaven and God says, you know what, you did a good job. I like that. That's all I need. Other than that, I'm not worried about it.
Thanks for sharing that with us. And we are actually almost to the end. I've been having so much fun with you and I've learned so much from you. So, as we get ready to close out the episode, I would like to ask you, what are three practical steps you would advise someone to follow to start off their journey right now?
The first would be to interview or speak to people who are doing it and pay for their time. Something like, I'll give you $50 to talk to me for 30 minutes about getting into the business. Most people who are successful and secure in their business won't take it, but that those who do usually feel obligated to give you the best information and also some of the industry shortcuts. Two, get educated, take online courses, get designations, certifications, or degrees to sharpen your knowledge. Continuing education is vital for all business owners. So if you don't like to study or read or attend lectures or get into business activities, don't get into business, because knowing about your industry and trends is the key to long-term success. So read, read, read. When you wake up, read something. When you go to bed, read something. I don't care if you read an article. I don't care if you read a quote, but reading and education. And three, here we go. Learn to automate, delegate, and eliminate. So that goes for systems and for people. Some people are only meant for a season. You'll have to say no to some people, but that's okay. You'll meet new people that are more aligned with your growth. Automate means that anything that is repetitive, see if you can set up a system. And anything that does not fit in any of those categories, you're going to delegate when you are financially ready. So don't just give to someone or don't give money away because you don't want to do it. You have to be able to afford it and have something better to do with your time. Don't delegate and sit on your hands. Only delegate to
Mm-hmm.
free up your time. If not, do it yourself until you're financially ready to pay someone else. Because people, they'll pay $20,000 for a website, but they have no traffic. Do it yourself, get some traffic, get some profit, take that profit and go delegate the website design to someone else.
And you mentioned systems. What kind of systems do you use in your business?
You have to learn to create systems. So I have a lot of technology. I have MailChimp. As far as my newsletter automations are concerned, customer journeys. I have Hootsuite for my posting on LinkedIn and YouTube, things of that nature. So some technologies have systems built in, but you have to learn how to create a system. And what that is more like a customer journey. So you take
Mm-hmm.
steps and say, well, I have to do step A, step B, step C, step D. What does that look like and what are the steps involved? We call them workflows. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to outline everything that you do, all the tasks that you have to do, and you're going to line those up and say, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And you set up a system. If you have a technology that can replace steps 2 and 3 and it's affordable, buy that technology. So all you have to do is step 1 and step 4. So you do step
Mm-hmm.
1, it goes through automation, then you do step 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you could set up these systems in your business, you're going to be unstoppable. You're going to be able to replace all these virtual assistants. I'm not saying virtual assistants are not good, but what I am saying is that if you can automate it and you can set up a system, then you can increase your workload without increasing your stress. And that's what happens. People workloads are exceeding their stress levels. So we have to lower
Mm-hmm.
that so you can function and you can think about your business because we want to spend more time on our business, not necessarily in our business.
Right. And even if you do have an assistant, for instance, by taking away some of that work from them, they help you in other ways.
Yes, they can be more creative.
Exactly. So it's a win-win for everybody. And one of the things we try to do here is create a community. So we would like to connect guests like yourself to listeners, and we would like to ask if you would offer up maybe 30 minutes of your time to speak with someone who reaches out to you, wants to talk about business or just how to even start within your industry, just more of a one-on-one kind of conversation. Is that something you'd be open to?
I do. I actually have my Fridays are open. Talk about managing your time. Fridays are
Mhm.
for fellowship, I like to say. So on
Mhm.
Fridays, I'm open, and that's why this podcast came together as well. I had some fellowshipping to do earlier today. Where people just
Mhm.
come and vent. We don't even have to talk about financial planning. Sometimes people like to vent and talk about their week, or maybe there's some things that are going on in their life that they want to express to someone, but they don't want to talk to family about it. We can
Mhm.
vent. It's very private. It doesn't leave our conversation. But yeah,
Mhm.
people can come, they can learn more about my journey, who I am, what I am, and if they have some questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay. And what's the best way to join fellowship with you?
The best way is just go to my website, www.abrwealthmanagement.com, or you can send me an email at info@abrwealthmanagement.com. I'm sure the links will be in the description somewhere. So if I went too fast,
No, there will be. There will be. So thanks. And one more thing is I'm trying this new thing where I try to see who you know that I may be able to connect with.
okay.
So if there is there somebody you think who's doing, another entrepreneur you think that would be a great person for me to reach out to?
Casey and Gordon. She's actually one of my favorite people. Casey and Gordon, Kaysian, Gordon Gordon. I think she's in the New York area. Actually, I think that's even more
Mm,
appropriate. She is a certified private accountant, CPA. She's a CPA. She has her master's. She's a certified financial planner. She's a certified Christian advisor as well. Very educated. Yeah, you connect with her. I'm sure on the accounting side and then also even for
mhm,
the financial planning side, because I know some of your clients may need some personal finance management, may be able to work with
mhm.
her or, get some things accomplished. She's a very accomplished woman. I think that y'all mesh well.
Okay, great. And it's nice to that you were able to say somebody so quickly and you had such nice things to say about her.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for that.
Yeah, she was actually a guest on my show as well, and I think Black financial advisors make up less than 1% of certified financial planners. So I just think it's wonderful that she is so well decorated and that she has the gall to go out there in a male dominated industry and succeed and make her mark. And, if we can kind of put y'all two together and y'all can blaze some new trails, that would be wonderful.
Well, thank you. And can you tell our listeners how to listen to your podcast?
You can just Google me on YouTube. Financial advisors say the darndest things. We're on all social media platforms as far as the where you get your podcasting at. So whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else like that. But I recommend everyone to go to my website to get all the new information. We have free ebooks for 4 pillars to Christian investing that you could download. Goes over debt management, savings, investing, and wealth transfer. So if you don't know anything about investing, don't know anything about finances, go download the ebook. All we need is your email. Comes to our newsletter. You get to start learning about how to combine your faith and your finances.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for taking the time to be with
No
us.
problem.
I hope to have you on here again in the future.
God willing. God willing.
God willing. Always God willing. Thank you.
People want to know where that comes from. That comes from the book of James. So go check that out.
Okay, I didn't know where it came from, but I know where I'm from in the Caribbean. You do not say anything without saying God's willing, because we do not know, right? It's if God allows it, right?
If God allows it. It's a lot of people attribute it to Islam and Muslims because they say inshallah a lot, but it actually comes from the book of James. So people want to know where the originator came from. That's where it's at.
Okay. Thank you so much knowledge from you. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Begin, Build, Blossom, Your Business Journey, a CME Accounting LLC podcast. Please subscribe and be on the lookout for our next episode. If you'd like to share any feedback with us, please email us at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com.